Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour. Mob vandalizes Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's residence in Dhaka during an online speech by former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Ceasefire in East Congo appears to crumble as rebels take another town. UN estimates at least 2,900 killed in fighting in Goma. Trump signs an executive order to bar transgender athletes from girls and women's sports, says US will push IOC to change its rules on transgender before 2028 Los Angeles Games. French Prime Minister François Bayrou survives the no-confidence motion in Parliament, paving the way for the adoption of the country's budget for 2025. And in cricket, after decimating England in the T20 format, India will meet England in the first one-day international in Nagpur on Thursday. First, updates from Bangladesh, where a violent mob on Wednesday vandalized Bangabandhu Memorial Museum in Dhaka, the former residence of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Bangladesh's founding president and father of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. The deplorable incident occurred at about 8 p.m. local time after the Student Against Discrimination convener Hasnat Abdullah gave an inflammatory call on Facebook to that effect. According to media sources, the incident was allegedly supported by Professor Yunus-led interim government, as one of his colleagues in the government, Asif Mahmood, local government and youth and sports advisor, also wrote on his social media account, "Let there be festivity," quote. New Age newspaper reported that tensions triggered after the Bangladesh Chhatra League announced that ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina would address a virtual session at about 9 p.m. local time on Wednesday. Earlier, Dhaka Metropolitan Police Joint Commissioner for Crime Mohammad Farooq Hussain said that they had deployed additional police forces in and around the Mujib Memorial Museum. However, eyewitnesses said that the protesters were able to reach the museum without major obstacles. DD India's Naval Sangh Parmar joins us live from Dhaka on the phone line for more. Naval Sangh, this act of vandalism at the Bangabandhu Memorial Museum was part of a pre-announced program on social media. Have the authorities taken any action in this whole matter so far?
Well, Tanvi, it was definitely a pre-announced program, as the many student leaders who are the coordinator for the July uprising, which toppled the Sheikh Hasina government. They wrote on their social media accounts and other so Facebook and other social media accounts that let's demolish the reminiscent of the Mujib here in Bangladesh, and many of the people who are part of the government, they also endorsed this this kind of announcement, program announcement on their social media accounts. As you mentioned, that the Asif Mahmood, who is minister in the government, interim government of led by the Dr. Yunus, he also wrote on his Facebook account that let's have the festivity. So it was definitely a pre-announced program, and there were widespread belief that tonight something will happen. Even though there were a list deployment of the police force and the other law enforcement agencies, and amid the presence of law enforcer, the crowd broke into the Mujib Memorial Museum and they vandalized it. Then they burnt it, and at around 11 p.m. in night, they brought a crane and an excavator to demolish it. As you can see from the visuals, that they demolish it.
Okay. How dangerous is the trend of mob violence in Bangladesh that is continuing ever since the ouster of Sheikh Hasina since August last year?
Yeah, it is very dangerous because everything happens here on the street. Those who have any kind of their anger or any demand, then they need to come on street. And such type of demands and protest, like protest from the RMG workers or the protest from the auto rickshaw driver or the students or some other group, the labor or any kind of group, they have their demand, they come on street. And as the number of protests increase, then some kind of this kind of things happens against the previous governments or their buildings or their supporters installation. So this is I can say one kind of tactic to divert the attention of the people who have their genuine demands against the price rise or jobs or their difficulty they are facing. So the government and the student organizations or student leader, they try to divert the attention of the people, bringing such kind of issues and mob violence here in Bangladesh.
Yeah, it's an alarming trend. Thank you, Naval Singh Parmar, for joining us on this story. Moving on, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with US Vice President J.D. Vance during his trip to Washington on Wednesday. United States National Security Advisor Michael Waltz also attended the meeting. On Tuesday, during a press conference with Netanyahu, US President Donald Trump said that the United States would take over the Gaza Strip and develop it after Palestinians are resettled elsewhere. Actions that would shatter decades of US policy towards Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Donald Trump hosted Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as his first guest in his second term. Meanwhile, US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth welcomed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia. During the visit, Hegseth emphasized the importance of peace through strength and noted that Pentagon is ready to look at all options regarding Gaza. Hegseth's remarks came a day after President Donald Trump expressed interest in US control and redevelopment of the region.
I would just say to the question of Gaza, the definition of insanity is attempting to do the same thing over and over and over again. And as the President and Prime Minister pointed out last night, the President is willing to think outside the box, look for new and unique dynamic ways to solve problems that have felt like they're intractable. So we look forward to more conversations about that, creative solutions to that, and as the man tasked with leading the Defense Department here, we're prepared to look at all options, as we've said before.
Reacting to Trump's offer, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that the idea was not meant as hostile and described it as a generous move.
It's a unique offer, one that no other country in the world has stepped up and made an offer. But I think it's one people need to think about. Seriously, it was not meant as a hostile move. It was meant as I think, a very generous move, the offer to rebuild and to be in charge of the rebuilding of a place, many parts of which right now, even if people move back, they would have nowhere to live safely because there are still unexploded munitions and debris and rubble.
Whereas White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that Washington would not fund Gaza's reconstruction, adding that Trump wanted Palestinians to be only temporarily relocated out of Gaza.
The president has not committed to putting boots on the ground in Gaza. He has also said that the United States is not going to pay for the rebuilding of Gaza. His administration is going to work with our partners in the region to reconstruct this region. And let me just take a step back here, because this is an out-of-the-box idea. That's who President Trump is. That's why the American people elected him. And his goal is lasting peace in the Middle East for all people in the region.
Meanwhile, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned President Donald Trump to avoid ethnic cleansing in Gaza after the US president proposed that Palestinians resettle elsewhere.
In the search for solutions, we must not make the problem worse. It is vital to stay true to the bedrock of international law. It is essential to avoid any form of ethnic cleansing.
US President Donald Trump's recent remarks about Ukraine's potential NATO membership raised security concerns for Russia. This have sparked increased diplomatic activity, with Moscow welcoming the comments. Meanwhile, Britain continues its support for Ukraine with fresh financial aid. More on this report.
US President Donald Trump's remarks that Ukraine joining NATO potentially raises Russia's concern of security threat. Following this statement, the diplomatic efforts have intensified. Moscow has welcomed Trump's words.
For the first time, President Trump, in one of his first speeches criticizing the position of the Biden administration on the Ukraine crisis, bluntly said that one of the main mistakes was drawing Ukraine into NATO, and that if Trump had been president in the previous 4 years, that would not have happened, and the conflict would not have started.
Russia has been in contact with the Trump administration and has maintained that ministerial-level discussions have been intensified.
There are indeed contacts between individual departments, and they have been intensifying recently, but I can't tell you any other details. We have nothing else to say.
However, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's willingness to negotiate directly with Russian President Vladimir Putin was dismissed by the Kremlin, which labeled it as empty words.
Let's be honest. If our allies believe we must move to the diplomatic track, and I believe we are ready to move to the diplomatic track, there must be the United States of America, Europe, Ukraine, and Russia. If that was the only setup in which we can bring peace to the citizens of Ukraine and stop losing people, definitely we will go for this setup, for a meeting with these 4 participants.
On the other hand, Britain continues to support Ukraine, with Foreign Minister David Lammy announcing an additional $68.7 million in financial aid during his visit to Kyiv on Wednesday to strengthen Ukraine. Meanwhile, Kyiv has intensified aerial strikes on Russia's energy and military sites, set an oil depot on fire in southwestern Russia. Ukraine claimed the Albashan's refinery in Karan-Sodar supplies fuel to Russian forces. Russian troops seized the settlements of Baranivka and Novolensk in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk and Kharkiv regions. With Rabindra Chauhan, Syed Afzarul Hassan for DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. Still to come on this show. US to skip the G20 summit in South Africa. Secretary of State Rubio accuses Pretoria of an anti-American agenda. After the US, Argentina plans to pull out of the World Health Organization, citing deep differences. And French Prime Minister François Bayrou survives the no-confidence motion in Parliament on 2025 budget.
Timeless, boundless, and infinite. The essence of faith, the soul of Sanatan culture. From the sacred confluence of Prayag, where divinity descends to earth. Witness the grandeur, the devotion, the magic. World's largest cultural and spiritual gathering, with over 450 million devotees expected to attend. Mahakumbh, India's greatest festival of faith. Exclusively on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. More updates from the United States. US President Donald Trump has signed an executive order banning transgender athletes from participating in women's sports, fulfilling a promise that was at the center of his election campaign in 2024.
With this executive order, the war on women's sports is over. Under the Trump administration, we will defend the proud tradition of female athletes, and we will not allow men to beat up, injure, and cheat our women and our girls. From now on, women's sports will be only for women. With my action this afternoon, we're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding. There will be no federal funding.
The order, titled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports, mandates that Title IX, the federal law banning sex discrimination in schools, be interpreted as prohibiting the participation of transgender girls and women in female sports. The order will call for immediate enforcement in schools nationwide. The order, which is likely to face legal challenges, threatens to cut off federal funding for any school that allows transgender women or girls to compete in female-designated sporting competitions. The official said the Department of Education would lead investigations into schools to ensure compliance, but that work could shift to other agencies if the department is dismantled. After a crucial meeting with US President Donald Trump, Texas Governor Greg Abbott announced on Wednesday that he is demanding an $11 billion reimbursement for the state's border security efforts. Abbott highlighted Texas's massive investment in border walls and military infrastructure aimed at tightening security along the US-Mexico border. He also claimed Texas has seized over 600 million doses of fentanyl, underscoring the scale of the crisis. This push aligns with Trump's long-standing hardline stance on immigration and border control.
What Texas is seeking is reimbursement to the state of Texas of about $11 billion of costs incurred over the past 4 years because of the unprecedented illegal crossings that took place that has never before happened. And what Texas did, we've already finished 56 miles of border wall. We have under construction another 18 miles of border wall. We've acquired and in the process of finishing the acquisition of more than 100 miles of land for more than 100 miles of more border wall. Those are real tangible real estate assets for the federal government.
Protests, meanwhile, broke out across the United States on Wednesday as demonstrators rallied against President Donald Trump and his Project 2025, voicing opposition to his recent executive actions. Project 2025 proposes enforcing laws that make it illegal to mail abortion pills over state lines, criminalizing adult films, and eliminating the Department of Education. The project also advocates a sweeping elimination of environmental regulations and a crackdown on programs to boost diversity in the workplace, which the project argues as broadly illegal. The project also calls for a broad expansion in presidential power by boosting the number of political appointees and increasing the president's authority over the Justice Department. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said he will not attend the G20 summit in South Africa, accusing the host government of following an anti-American agenda. Rubio's announcement comes 2 days after US President Donald Trump lashed out at South Africa over land reforms aimed at redressing inequalities perpetrated during the apartheid era. In a post on X that took on the tone of Trump, Rubio said he would boycott the G20 talks of foreign ministers in Johannesburg on February 20th and 21st. Earlier this week, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa rejected Trump's assertions that South Africa was confiscating land and said he was ready to explain his government's land reform policy to his US counterpart. Further, Guatemala has agreed to ramp up the number of deportation flights it receives from the United States after a visit from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Speaking alongside Guatemalan President Bernardo Arevalo in a joint press conference, Rubio said he had pledged U.S. support to the Central American country's efforts to return people not from Guatemala to their homeland. Since taking office on January 20th, President Donald Trump has stepped up the number of migrants the U.S. deports to Latin America, including using military planes for repatriation flights.
The president who's made the offer today, then we'll be working on the details of all of this, but the offer to increase these flights and these deportations by 40%. It's very important for us in terms of the migratory situation that we're facing. His willingness to accept not just nationals, but those from other nationalities as they seek to ultimately return to their own homelands is also important, and we've pledged our support with those efforts.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also announced on Wednesday that he will sign a waiver for programs aimed at combating drug trafficking in collaboration with Guatemalan authorities, as these initiatives align with their national interests.
An example of foreign aid that's in our national interest. That's why I've issued a waiver for these programs. That's why these programs are coming back online and they will be functioning, because it's a way of us showing to the American people this is the kind of foreign aid that's aligned with our foreign policy, with our national interest. That's why we want to take the relationship Guatemala has with Taiwan and expand it beyond diplomatic relations to stronger economic ties as well in terms of bringing investment.
Argentina has announced that it plans to pull out of the World Health Organization, following in the footsteps of the United States, which announced its exit from the UN agency last month. Argentina's President Milei, who considers Trump a close ally, ordered the country's exit in response to differences regarding the WHO's management of health issues, particularly its handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. The two leaders have each criticized the World Health Organization for its handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. A spokesman for President Milei said the decision to exit the WHO was triggered by differences regarding the health management practices, especially during the pandemic. He said WHO guidelines at the time led to the largest shutdown in the history of mankind.
President Milei instructed Foreign Minister Gerardo Wirthain to withdraw Argentina's participation from the World Health Organization. This decision is based on the deep differences, particularly regarding health management, especially during the pandemic.
On to Europe now. French Prime Minister François Bayrou has survived 2 no-confidence votes in Parliament, paving the way for the adoption of the country's 2025 budget. The budget is seen as key to reducing France's significant debt scenario. The no-confidence motions were introduced by far-left lawmakers after Bayrou invoked special constitutional powers to push through the budget without a parliamentary vote. However, the motions failed to gain sufficient support, with only 128 lawmakers voting in favour of the first motion and 122 in favour of the second motion. The far-right National Rally and centre-left Socialists did not back the motions, citing the need for a budget for the country. In his address to the lawmakers, Bayrou, however, acknowledged that the budget is imperfect and is just an emergency step.
Nous avons un budget imparfait.
We have an imperfect budget, and I would like to tell those who have noticed that our goal, our intention is for this budget is to not the same next year. If we could achieve the goals, what we have set. And so this budget is an emergency step.
France has been experiencing political instability since President Emmanuel Macron called a surprise snap election in June, a move that resulted in a hung parliament with no single party holding a majority. Sweden mourned the victims of its worst mass killing as police indicated that the gunman probably shot himself after killing 11 people at an adult education center. Sweden's King Carl Gustaf and Queen Silvia, along with Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson, attended a memorial service in Örebro where 11 people died in a shooting on Tuesday. The Prime Minister called for unity, describing February 4th as a dark day in Swedish history. Danish politicians also observed a minute of silence for the victims before a meeting in the Danish parliament. Prime Minister Kristersson ordered flags be flown at half-staff in response to the deadly mass shooting. The gunman has been identified as a 35-year-old local man who had been living as a recluse and suffering from psychological problems. The municipal director of Oribro said that the educational centre would remain closed for at least the rest of the week. And now on to Africa. In a significant escalation of unrest, Rwanda-backed M23 rebels have seized control of areas in eastern Congo, defying the ceasefire they declared for humanitarian aid. Despite announcing the truce for humanitarian corridors, fighting continues with rebels taking over key areas along the route to Bukavu after they seized Goma last week. The capture has displaced hundreds of thousands of people and fanned fears of a wider regional war. Congo has accused Rwanda of using the M23 to pillage valuable mineral deposits. Rwanda said it is acting in self-defense and to protect ethnic Tutsis. A Congo military court has issued, meanwhile, an international arrest warrant for rebel leader Nanga on Tuesday, accusing him of war crimes and treason. Meanwhile, the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs on Wednesday estimated at least 2,900 people died in Goma. The International Criminal Court prosecutors said that they were closely monitoring events after reports of possible war crimes in the battle for Goma.
So far, 2,000 bodies have been collected from the Goma streets in recent days, and 900 bodies remain in the morgues of the Goma hospitals. We do not think that that number would not go up. We expect this number to go up. And there's still many decomposing bodies in certain areas.
DD India's Amit Mukherjee joins us for more on this story. Amit, ceasefire in East Congo doesn't seem to hold, and UN estimates at least 2,900 people have been killed in fighting so far. Well, this is an alarming figure. So does that spark fears of a wider war in the region?
Well, Tanvi, if you look at the situation right now in Congo, one needs to go back 30 years. Because this conflict, primarily between the Hutus and the Tutsis, these are the two ethnic races which are there. It's basically a past struggle between the two, communities. So as of now, yes, right now Congo is under threat from the M23 rebels, who basically are the Tutsis. It's a formation of group by the Tutsis, and they are right now trying to take control over the certain regions of Congo. In fact, if you rightly said that there was a ceasefire announced after this, there was a very, very big incident of violence in Goma, following which more than almost 3,000 people have lost their lives, as reported by various agencies. But after that, a ceasefire was announced on humanitarian grounds in order to clear up the area, to get hold of the dead bodies, to clean up the streets of Goma. But unfortunately, again, the rebels have struck. Now this time, Nyabibwe, that's the city, that's the second largest city in Congo right now, and it is well known for its rich deposits of minerals. So primarily, again, coming back to what you mentioned in your report, that yes, it's a struggle to kind of get hold of get hold of the natural resources areas, and that is what the M23 rebels currently are fighting for. And going further, coming back to your questions, it has got, all the ingredients to spill over because of this unrest which has been going on for a long time. Certain South African countries which are based in the southern part of Africa, they had deployed peacekeeping forces in the region to ensure that, things don't go out of control. But clearly that is failing right now. And in fact, countries like Malawi, who also deployed their peacekeeping forces, they are now trying to withdraw from there because 3 of their soldiers got killed. South Africa has also deployed forces, peacekeeping forces, but they want to continue patrolling the area for the time being because they expect this situation to escalate further and they want to be in control of the situation. Tanvi?
Okay, thank you, Amit. Amit Mukherjee reporting on the story. Now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. A Japan Airlines Boeing 7879 Dreamliner struck the tail of a Delta Airlines 737-800 while taxiing at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport of United States on Wednesday. Delta confirmed that no injuries were reported and that passengers were transferred to another plane. Authorities are investigating the incident. Fans of Cristiano Ronaldo gathered at the Times Square on Wednesday to unveil a 12-foot-tall bronze statue of the Portuguese football legend created by sculptor Sergio Fornari. The statue remained mobile. Fornari crafted the statue as a tribute to Ronaldo's career and global influence on his 40th birthday. Dozens of Ismaili community members gathered in Lisbon for prayers and celebrations, honouring their new spiritual leader, Prince Rahim Al Husseini, as the 50th hereditary Imam. His appointment was revealed after the will of his late father, Prince Karim Aga Khan IV, was unsealed. You're watching DD India News Hour, still to come on the show. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman calls India incredibly important for AI development in his meeting with Indian IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav. South Korea too blocks access to DeepSeek AI tool amid growing concerns over its security.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Tanvi Taneja. A reminder of the headlines we're tracking at this hour. Mob vandalizes Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's residence in Dhaka during an online speech by former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Ceasefire in East Congo appears to crumble as rebels take another town. UN estimates at least 2,900 killed in fighting in Goma. Donald Trump signs executive order to bar transgender athletes from girls and women's sports, says US will push IOC to change its rules on transgender before the 2028 Los Angeles Games. French Prime Minister François Bayrou survives no confidence motion in Parliament, paving the way for the adoption of the country's budget for 2025. Back to New Delhi. President of the 79th session of the UN General Assembly, Philemon Yang, is on a 4-day visit to India. During his visit, he will also pay a courtesy call on India's President Draupadi Murmu. Earlier, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met Philemon Yang in New Delhi. The two leaders discussed various issues on the United Nations agenda, including the need for reformed multilateralism. They also exchanged views on regional, global and developmental issues. Taking to microblogging site X, Jaishankar appreciated Philemon Yang's leadership and guidance at the UN. Apart from New Delhi, Yang will also be visiting Bengaluru. Today is an important day in the Indian Parliament. The Lok Sabha will discuss the Union Budget 2025-26 presented by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. The Rajya Sabha will discuss the motion of thanks on the President's address. Congress MP Kiran Chaudhary brought this motion in the House on February the 3rd. Apart from this, the House will congratulate Rajya Sabha MP from Bihar, Upendra Kushwaha, on his birthday. And next, an update on the Delhi polls. Amid the high-octane electioneering, voting for the 70-member Delhi Assembly took place on Wednesday. 60.42% voter turnout was reported till 11:30 p.m. local time. Exit polls predict that the BJP may be returning to power after 2 decades in the national capital. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay brings us more.
Voting for the Delhi Assembly election 2025 concluded on Wednesday in all 70 constituencies. 57.70% voter turnout has been reported till 5 p.m. 699 candidates are in the fray. India's President Draupadi Murmu, Union Ministers Hardeep Singh Puri, Dr. S. Jaishankar, Delhi Chief Minister Atishi, Aam Aadmi Party leader Manish Sisodia, Arvind Kejriwal, BJP's Basuri Swaraj and Congress's Alka Lamba are among the big names who voted early in the day. A unique polling station was set up in Delhi's Bikaspuri with the theme Chandrayaan se Chunav tak Bharat ki Udan. What adds to all this was the volunteers dressed up as astronauts to assist voters. Meanwhile, special arrangements have been made to ensure accessibility for specially abled voters, offering them assistance and a smooth voting process. A high-stakes battle is expected in the New Delhi constituency, where Aam Aadmi Party chief and former Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal is seeking re-election. His challengers include BJP's Parvez Sahib Singh and Congress's Sandeep Dikshit, both sons of former Delhi Chief Ministers. In Kalkaji, Delhi Chief Minister Atishi from Aam Aadmi Party is contesting against BJP's Ramesh Viduri and Congress leader Alka Lamba. Meanwhile, exit polls for Delhi Assembly elections forecast Bharatiya Janata Party return to power after 2 decades, while the Congress remains a marginal player. The counting will take place on Saturday. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
As India embarks on an exciting artificial intelligence AI journey, OpenAI co-founder and CEO Sam Altman praised the nation's growing AI influence and even called India incredibly important for AI development. Here's a report on India's growing influence in AI globally.
India is stepping into an exciting new era of artificial intelligence. OpenAI co-founder and CEO Sam Altman has called India a very important market for AI, its second biggest globally. During his meeting with India's IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, Altman discussed the nation's ambitious AI roadmap. The focus? Building a full-stack AI ecosystem, from GPUs to models and applications. Minister Vaishnav highlighted India's ability to develop cost-effective AI models, much like its affordable space missions.
Our young entrepreneurs, our startups, our researchers, they are really focused on getting that next level of innovation, which will reduce the cost. See, our country sent a mission to the moon at a fraction of the cost that many other countries did, right? Why can't we do a model which will be a fraction of the cost that many other countries do.
The minister also urged Indian startups to drive innovation in AI, announcing an open competition to accelerate groundbreaking solutions. Altman praised India's commitment to making technology accessible to all.
India is an incredibly important market for AI in general, for OpenAI in particular. It's our second biggest market. Tripled users here in the last year, but mostly seeing what people in India are building with AI at all levels of the stack, chips, models, all of the incredible applications. So I think India should be doing everything. I think India should be one of the leaders of the AI revolution. That it's really quite amazing to see what the country has done and embraced the technology and building, again, the entire stack of things on top of it.
India is gearing up to launch its own indigenous AI model in just 6 months. This homegrown AI will strengthen India's position as a trusted global leader in ethical and secure AI technologies.
भारत वो देश है जिसके इंडिया एआई मिशन को लेकर के पूरी दुनिया बहुत आशावादी है और विश्व के एआई प्लेटफॉर्म में भारत की मौजूदगी एक महत्वपूर्ण स्थान प्राप्त कर चुकी है और 21वीं सदी पूरी तरह टेक्नोलॉजी ड्रिवन सेंचुरी है। ऐसे में हमारे लिए आवश्यक है कि भारत डीप टेक के क्षेत्र में बहुत तेजी से आगे बढ़े।
With high-end common computing facility, the India AI mission is making AI more accessible, especially in Indian languages. While global AI models cost around $2.5 to $3 per hour, India's AI model will cost less than ₹100 per hour after a 40% government subsidy. That's 9 times more efficient than China's DeepSeek and 2/3 the cost of ChatGPT. Tripti Tripathi reporting for DD India.
South Korea's defense ministry has blocked access to the DeepSeek AI tool on Thursday for computers used in military. This follows a notice issued on Tuesday urging government ministries and agencies to exercise caution when using AI services, including DeepSeek and ChatGPT at work. This restriction makes South Korea the latest government to raise concerns over AI security risks as global discussions on AI regulation and cybersecurity intensify. Several countries, including Italy, Taiwan and Australia, have also taken action against the app. And next we take a look at what else is making news in India. A 2-year-old boy fell into a damaged manhole in Surat's Variya village, Gujarat. Fire department officials immediately launched a search and rescue operation. Over 60 workers are involved in efforts to locate and save the child. The ritualistic dance Gaggara Seve was performed at Sri Durga Parmeshwari and Nava Guliga Kshetra in Barkaje in the Indian state of Karnataka. The traditional event is dedicated to the Nava Guliga Daivas, revered deities of the Tulunadu region. The ceremony reflects the deep-rooted cultural and spiritual traditions of the region. The Indian Army has ramped up counter-militancy operations in Jammu and Kashmir's Doda, Bhalesa region. Navigating extreme cold and rugged terrain, soldiers are patrolling the area and engaging with locals and monitoring for any militant activity. Recent encounters in Sino Bhalesa and Asar led to the elimination of foreign terrorists, reinforcing the Army's commitment to regional security. Pritisha Mutra Prasad, better known by the artist name Pritisha M, is a talented 12-year-old from Springs on the East Rand in Gauteng, South Africa. Her love for music and passion for singing and entertaining started at the tender age of 3, and she's fond of playing the harmonium. She is blossoming rapidly and gaining popularity in her singing career in the South African nation. DD India's Nazneen Ismail reports.
Pritisha Mathura Prasad, also known as Pritisha M, is a 15-year-old singer from Springs, South Africa. She gained recognition in 2020 after meeting the Indian Idol's 11 finalists and recording her first song, Moments of Love. At 12, she became the first South African to release an original Hindi song, Meri Maa. Pritisha has performed at Shreya Ghoshal's concert in South Africa and released several songs, including the inspirational Ye Havaye about overcoming the pandemic. In 2021, her track Hum Na Bhulenge Tumko was a tribute to her late grandfather, and in 2022 she released Love Me, a fusion of English and Zulu in the Amapiano genre, earning her the Best Newcomer title at the MBA Awards. Her music has received airplay in South Africa, India and Canada.
My most memorable performance was when I was the opening act for Shreya Ghoshal. It was such a vibrant night, and definitely it was so amazing meeting her backstage. The most challenging part about a singer, especially at my age, is balancing between school, academics, drama, whatever else I do in between altogether. When I get criticized, I tend to take everything with a pinch of salt. What I want my legacy to be in the music industry is to make an impact in the music industry. I want to be remembered for my positivity. I stay motivated by remembering all the things there are to be grateful for in life. So my family, my pet Sky, my grandfather mainly. One thing I wish I knew when I started out was that I had to learn to support myself and not rely on so much validation from other people. Kill everybody with kindness is the best piece of advice I've received from my grandfather. If I could perform anywhere in the world, I'd choose Times Square in New York. I love America so much, and definitely the Eiffel Tower and India, of course. My motto is, And this one comes from my mum. Go big or go home. तू क्या जाने तेरी दुआ में क्या असर है, इधर तू हाथ उठाए उधर दुआ कबूल है, मेरी हर एक सांस में बस तू है मेरी माँ, मेरा रब मेरा खुदा सब तू है मेरी माँ, माँ की दुआ वक्त तो क्या नसीब भी बदल देती है।
Thank you so much for sharing your insights on your music journey with us today. We wish you all the success and we can't wait to hear what's next.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing being here.
So I'm Nazneen.
And I'm Pratisha M.
For DD India, Johannesburg, South Africa.
You're watching DD India News Hour, still to come on the show. At the National Games, Suruchi from Haryana claims gold medal in shooting. And New Zealand marks the National Waitangi Day to honour its indigenous population.
Timeless, boundless, and infinite. The essence of faith, the soul of Sanatan culture. From the sacred confluence of Prayag, where divinity descends to earth. Witness the grandeur, the devotion, the magic. World's largest cultural and spiritual gathering, with over 450 million devotees expected to attend. Mahakumbh, India's greatest festival of faith. Exclusively on DD India.
Welcome to Jaipur.
Thank you for staying with us on DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. On to some sporting action now. First, updates from cricket. The three-match one-day international series between India and England kicks off in Nagpur on Thursday. Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma have returned to the Indian fold after a month-long break. India will hope to fine-tune their preparations for the upcoming ICC Champions Trophy. Mystery spinner Varun Chakravarti has been added to the squad after his remarkable performance in the recently concluded T20 series against England. England batsman Joe Root will make his first ODI appearance since 2023 after being named in the team for the opening match. England will be eager to make up for a 4-1 defeat in the T20 series. And on to updates from the 38th National Games of India. The shooting event saw intense competition at the Trishul shooting range with top athletes from across the country showcasing their skills. In the 10-meter air pistol women's final, Suruchi from Haryana claimed the gold medal with a remarkable score of 245.7. Palak, also from Haryana, secured the silver medal with 243.6 points, while Simranpreet Kaur Brar from Punjab took home the bronze medal with a score of 218.8. So Uttarakhand and Kerala have secured thrilling wins in the semi-finals of the men's football event at the 38th National Games underway in Uttarakhand. The semi-final between Delhi and Uttarakhand was an exciting contest. Delhi's Mohammad Ejaz Ahmed broke the deadlock in the 21st minute, putting his team ahead. However, Uttarakhand fought back with Ayush Bisht netting a crucial equaliser. With the match ending in a 1-1 draw, the winner was determined via a penalty shootout. Uttarakhand held their nerve, sealing a 5-3 victory. In another semi-final, Kerala saw a fiercely contested battle against Assam. Both teams displayed exceptional defensive resilience, resulting in a goalless draw at the end of regulation time. The game went to the penalty shootout, with Kerala pulling off a 3-2 victory. India's compound archer Abhishek Verma, who has represented India on numerous occasions and won medals in Asian Games, spoke to DD India's Narayan Singh on the sidelines of the ongoing national games.
Indian compound archer are the top notch in the world, and we know that at every podium they have won the medal. And right now I'm joined by Abhishek Verma, who needs no introduction. 5 medals in the Asian Games, 4 in the World Cups and 6 in the Asian Championship. Abhishek, the kind of performance you have delivered over the past decade means unbelievable. You are the poster boy of the Indian archery, the kind of performance you deliver. And right now you are playing at the national games. It's a mini Olympic of the India. But the way the young generation is coming up, giving a stiff challenge to the veterans like you. So how you look this thing?
देखिए फॉर श्योर कंपटीशन बढ़ना भी चाहिए और बढ़ भी रहा है. इफ यू सी द हरियाणा मैच और द गोल्ड मेडल मैच, तो हरियाणा टीनेजर्स बॉयज competing with us, so it's a good match, and it's a good inspiration for all of them, because youngster is coming very quickly and very strongly.
I'm talking about the fact that India is a rising power in the world of sports, and the way PM Modi said India is also want to host the 2036 Olympics. So in that context, what do you want to say? The India as a sporting nation, India's infrastructure, India's athletes, the way they are performing at the international levels.
See, India is ready for everything. If you competing with just like an athlete, we are ready. If you like these kind of arrangement like a hosting, we are ready. So I don't think we need anything. So for world, we just a single word, we are ready for everything.
So as Abhishek, we know that he's a veteran of the game. He is saying that India is ready to host any international event, and the kind of things are placed here, the infrastructure, the equipments and the trainers and the facilities are the world class. So all in all, we can say that India is ready to shine on the map of the world sports. With camera person Manmohan, Narayan Singh, DD India, Dehradun.
And next update from football. Newcastle United have reached a second League Cup final in 3 seasons as they overwhelmed Arsenal 2-0 in the second leg match of the semi-finals on Wednesday to complete a crushing 4-0 aggregate win. Arsenal was surprisingly beaten 2-0 at home in their first leg, and their fate was sealed when Anthony Gordon punished a defensive error to put the hosts in cruise control. Newcastle, who have not won a major trophy since 1955, will play either Liverpool or Tottenham Hotspur in the Wembley final next month. Tottenham hold a 1-0 lead ahead of Thursday's second leg match. On to tennis. Italian qualifier Matteo Berlucci handed world number 7 Daniil Medvedev an early exit from the Rotterdam Open. The 23-year-old Berlucci upset the Russian 6-3, 6-7, 6-3 in the second round of the indoor hardcourt ATP 500 event to earn his first win against a top 10 opponent. For Medvedev, it is another disappointment at the start of the season, having also suffered a shocking loss in the second round of the Australian Open last month. Berlucci played aggressively throughout, winning most of the points on Medvedev's second serve. On the other hand, Medvedev was less than impressive with some of the underdog's tactics. And thousands gathered at Waitangi in New Zealand on Thursday to celebrate the anniversary of the signing of the Treaty of Waitangi, the country's founding document. While the event featured formal celebrations, it also became a platform for debate and protests, with critics calling for a halt on government policies they believe undermine the treaty's significance and the rights of the Maori people. That's it for this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live, and you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from my entire team here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.